So the launch library, like we mentioned a moment ago, is a reason that we love the Dreamcast. Now, look, if you guys have paid attention to any kind of launch library in the past few years, like just go and look at these terrible lineups that have come out for the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5. PS4 might have been like mediocre at best. Xbox One was not good.
360 was okay.
Yeah, I mean the last one that PS2 didn't have a great lineup. PS2 had a lot of games, but they were trash for the most part. There was like one or two good games in PS2's entire lineup. Their handhelds were better. Like I think Vita had a decent lineup and stuff like that. But the last console I remember launching that had like a great lineup was probably the Dreamcast.
I agree 100%.
There was 18 games. I'm gonna rat them off real quick, and then we can talk about them. There was Kart, Flag to Flag, that was a racing game. Hydro Thunder, Tokyo Extreme Racer, Aero Wings, Air Force Delta, Trick Style, Blue Stinger, NFL 2K, Mortal Kombat Gold, Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat, NFL Blitz 2000, Sonic Adventure, House of the Dead 2, Soul Calibur, Pen, can't say that other word, Triathlon? Triathlon? It's Japanese.
Pen.
There you go. And then finally, Monaco Grand Prix Racing Simulation 2. That's what we got for the launch lineup.
That's such a great launch library. Such a great day one library. I bought most of those.
I was a kid, so unfortunately I didn't get most of them. I ended up getting Sonic and Soul Calibur day one. And then following that, soon after, because I really, really wanted Blue Stinger, I got that. And I mean, out of the lineup, that game was marketed heavily. It was, all over the place, and that's all I wanted to play, and it was not good. Like Sonic Adventure and Soul Calibur were miles ahead of this game.
Oh, Soul Calibur was like on the top of everybody's list. Soul Calibur, Sonic, because everybody loves Sonic. Those were the two probably the most popular titles outside of like 2K. Because football, and football. Oh man, I remember recording football just to run on the screen because we had a VCR, and I would just tape a bunch of games. And I remember we were in the mall, and people would walk by the store when 2K was playing, and they were like, "Is a game on? Are we missing a game?" I'm like, no, this is for the Sega Dreamcast. I thought it was a real game. They look so real. It was that good. I mean, granted, we're talking 99. They look so much better now, but
at the time, you never seen anything like it.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, I was still in the sports at that time, but I mean, 2K, the whole 2K sports thing was amazing. Like those games were so far ahead of EA Sports that it was almost disgraceful. It was like, how does NFL 2K, NBA 2K, how did these games come out and just like trounce you after you've been around for like, probably at that time, like a decade. Like you've been around for a long time and you've done nothing with your license. Like you've done the bare minimum to get by to keep selling copies. And then 2K just was like, this is how a football game works. This is how a basketball game works. It was nuts, man.
It was crazy. I'm just looking at the launch list and just remembering, cracking open these games. Hydro Thunder. Loved Hydro Thunder.
I was going to ask you about that. Now, Hydro Thunder is like a wave race type game, right?
Correct. It had speedboats.
They made sequels to this though later on, didn't they? Or was this
they did a Thunder, quote unquote, Thunder series, because Hydro Thunder was the speedboats. Then they did, I think they did monster trucks, and but it was a bunch of different Thunder games, and each one was different. So I said Hydro was water. Then there was like what else? Oh, Arctic Thunder was the snowmobiles.
I remember Arctic Thunder.
Yeah,
that was like PS2, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. for those of you just watching for the first time, Wes and I worked at video game stores for a long time. Wes is still working at a video game store. So like covers to us, like if you say a name of a video game, I can usually picture the cover of it in my head. You know, now things are getting a little wishy-washy because there's like digital only games and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. Like I've never even heard of that before. But back in the day, you used to look at the, you know, the shelves in your store and things would fluctuate. They would go in and out. But eventually you'd probably see every damn game in there at some point. So you'd know what the cover would look like.
Yep. Yes, you would. Yes,
so
you would.
Even though I never played Arctic Thunder, I have a vivid memory of that in my head. I know exactly what that cover looks like on PS2.
Yep, Arctic Thunder. Yeah. So what else? Tokyo Extreme Racer. I bought. What else did I buy? Trick Style. Trick Style was the hoverboard game.
Yeah. I never played Trick Style. What did you think about that one?
It was okay. It looked really nice. It tried to be ambitious. It was something different we've never seen before. It was it was an average racer, but it tried to be, I want to say it tried to be like a futuristic Tony Hawk.
I was literally walking down the same path. I was waiting for you to finish. This is 1999. Tony Hawk is like on an extraordinary level right now, like astronomical level. Like Tony Hawk is like the game to have on your console, which eventually did come to Dreamcast and it was the superior version. PlayStation has like the easy button layout and everything, but it looked 10 times better than the Dreamcast, and that's the version that I had. But this game was made because Tony Hawk was popular, and they were like, oh, this is when you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of extreme sports start, you know, trying to ride on the coattails of Tony Hawk. But very few of them had the quality of the gameplay that Tony Hawk did.
Trick Style tried. They tried really hard. You know, it was you wound up doing tricks on your hoverboard, and, you know, just like Tony Hawk, the fancier your trick, the more points you got. But at the same time, you know, it was a racing game. Oh, what else? Oh, Blue Stinger. I know we had a discussion about Blue Stinger. You wasn't too fond of Blue Stinger.
Well, what did you think of it? This is the man who loves Aquaman. Go ahead.
I know.
Defend Blue Stinger.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna defend Blue Stinger. Not that it was great by no means, but it was for the Dreamcast as a launch title, it was the closest thing to a Resident Evil survival horror type of game that we got.
All right.
Graphically, it looked great.
It did.
It looked fantastic for that time period. It had some issues. It had some control issues, some camera issues, but coming from, you know, Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3 for the PlayStation, and then we see Blue Stinger on the Dreamcast, it did something. It was like, okay, all right. And then you kind of forgave the flaws because of what you were playing and what you were seeing on the screen.
You kind of forgave the flaws. I remember playing that and being like, I was so excited. Like, there's a few games in my life where I can point to and just be like, this is pure disappointment. And Blue Stinger is up there in like probably the top 5. Like the hype was like, and I'm sure I was younger. It was probably part of the marketing, but I was like so excited to play that game. And I got it. I was like, this doesn't work right. What's wrong with this thing? Like, it looks pretty, but it doesn't play the way that it should. Like there was just something missing.
Dude, you had vending machines. You can interact with the vending machines. Come on, man. That's great.
That's such a oh my god. I'd rather have a collectathon like Banjo-Kazooie than pressing a button and a soda pops out of a vending machine.
What else do we have? We have Mortal Kombat Gold. I mean, Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat.
Gold was supposed to be like the best of, right? Gold. Didn't Gold take like the best of like the levels and like characters from 1, 2, and 3 and be like, here's the best that Mortal Kombat has to offer?
And it looked so much nicer. I mean, granted, it was still the digitized characters. It was still the 2D Mortal Kombat that everybody loves, but it played so much smoother. It looked nicer.
That was the appeal of Dreamcast, though. Like, look, if you guys weren't alive during that time, like for years, for a solid decade, it maybe 2 decades, everybody was like trying to get arcade perfect games on their console. And in my opinion, the Dreamcast was the first system that really delivered. when you played Soul Calibur and like a 3D fighter for the first time, it was like, this could only be done on arcades. Like, how is this even possible? And this was, at least a year, maybe 2 years before PS1 came, or PS2 came out.
Yeah, the first true console, in my opinion, that gave us arcade perfect ports. Yeah. And like most of the reason was because a lot of the Sega games ran off of the Naomi board, which is what the Dreamcast ran off of. So you had the arcade machines and your home console running off the same motherboard. So everything, at least the Sega titles, looked spot on from what you played in the arcade.
Not only did they look spot on, it was like, well, why would you want to play something in an arcade when you can get this quality at your home for literally, in my opinion, the first time that would happen? Like, this was it. Like, the Dreamcast showed you the possibility of, like, forget the arcade, you can do this at home, which didn't help the arcades at all. Obviously, there's been a resurgence in recent years, but there was like, a couple, 15 years, I would say, where the arcades were like in really bad shape.
Right. Well, let's keep in mind, let's make it clear. You also had the Neo Geo, which was the same concept because you had the arcade board that powered the home console, but who had $700?
It was $700, Wes. Look, as soon as someone says Neo Geo, I'm so glad you remember that. Because as soon as somebody says Neo Geo to me, I remember reading magazines, looking at, like, I was obsessed with video games and I had no money because I was a little kid. I remember seeing the Neo Geo for $700. Like, this is amazing. I'm never going to afford this in my entire life. It's $700 and I'm, a kid. This is not going to happen. But I remember, like, my mind was blown at that time. And granted, Neo Geos are pretty expensive now because they're hard to find. But that was probably,
I would say, the first arcade experience at home. I would say, and you had the memory cards with the Neo Geo that allowed you to plug into the arcade machine to transfer your save files and your character uploads.
How cool is that, man?
It was cool. It was cool. Neo Geo is a story for another podcast.
Definitely. A quick side note, that reminds me of the Xbox. I think it was the 360. You could, in the very early years, like maybe year one, maybe year two, you could take your memory card, pop it into a kiosk, like an Xbox 360 kiosk, and you could like transfer files and stuff onto the memory card and take it with you, which was awesome. Like, there was very cool things you could do with that for a very limited amount of time.
Yes. Oh, what else? Going back to Dreamcast launch, we had Sonic Adventures, we both spoke about. House of the Dead. Well, House of the Dead, that was one of those arcade perfect ports because the arcade machine used the same motherboard as the Dreamcast. So playing House of the Dead in the arcade was the exact same thing playing it at home.
And it had a light gun.
Yep.
I know there was ones from Mad Catz, but I think I'll have to look. I'll post a picture if it's real. I think there was an official Dreamcast light gun as well.
Yep. Then we had Power Stone. How can I forget Power Stone? Power Stone was, in my opinion, one of the first true 3D fighters that allowed you to interact with the backgrounds. I remember swinging around poles.
Yeah, you could grab a pole and use it as a weapon, couldn't you?
As a weapon, or you can grab it and swing around, and you collected the gems. And once you collect all the gems, you could transform into like a more powerful superhero being of yourself. There was the one guy that was a Dragon Ball ripoff because he turned all Super Saiyan and had the gold hair and threw the fireballs. And but Power Stone. I remember my friends telling me when to get the import, he's like, you have to get Power Stone. And then I got it, and I was like, oh my God, this is one of the best things I've ever played.
Power Stone was something else.
Full 3D in backgrounds that were fully interactive. Amazing. And then Ready to Rumble.
Oh, dude, look. I mean, I know this is a weird thing to say because if you guys pay attention to me, because I don't play a lot of sports games anymore. There was probably like a decade period where I played a lot of boxing games. Like, I would say like late Sega Genesis, I found Greatest Heavyweights, and that was the first boxing game. That's not true, because I played Punch Out too. all right, I've been playing boxing games for like longer than anybody would ever guess. Up until probably like Fight Night Round 2 was probably like the last one that I was really into. But Ready to Rumble was like something else because it was like very unique. It wasn't trying to be realistic. It wasn't like Greatest Heavyweights, which was an excellent Dreamcast title if you guys want to play a good boxing game. I'm sorry, Genesis.
Complete arcade boxing.
Completely an over-the-top arcade boxing smash hit. They were fantastic. I mean, they were great boxing games.
So much fun. And then we got Michael Jackson as a playable character in the second one.
Amazing.
So much fun. So what about you? I rattled off on some of my favorite launch titles and experiences.
I mean, for me, the two were Soul Calibur and Sonic. Going back to those briefly, like seeing Sonic in 3D was kind of mind-blowing, right? Like if you guys didn't know about my experience with Sega, is I went from the original Nintendo to a Sega Genesis. The reason I went to a Sega Genesis is because of Sonic. There was no other reason. Sonic was what got me in the door to Genesis. I played 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, all of those. So when the Dreamcast came up, it was like, you know, I didn't know what to do. It was like, I might go to something else. And then they showed off Sonic in 3D for the first time. It's like, oh my God, I have to play this. It was an awesome experience. It was a very good game, but it was missing a little something. Like the 2D Sonic games just simply play better. But what I did like about it was the VMU and how you had like little chows inside of it. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is like its own game within itself that I can take out of my Dreamcast and like, you know, take care of these little chows. It was basically like
a Tamagotchi.
A Tamagotchi. Thank you. That's exactly what it was. And you can take it in your memory card. You can take it on the go. So I definitely like that aspect of it. I thought the game was good. It wasn't great, in my opinion. I like the old ones better. Soul Calibur was a whole different experience. Soul Calibur at that time, and probably even to this day, is one of the best fighting experiences you can ever have. It's not like a 2D fighter. It is a 3D fighter. And it is so, in my opinion, it's difficult to do a very good 3D fighter. And Soul Calibur nailed it. I would go back and play that 3D fighting game before most modern 3D fighting games.
Okay. Then you had, I have to give a shout out to like 1 or 2 honorable mentions, which did not make day one launch, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, were launch window games, like Dead or Alive 2. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. The multi-tiered fighting. I mean, not only did it look good, but some of the stages, if you knock somebody off the edge, if they can continue, they would fall and you can jump down and continue the fights. It was amazing. It looked amazing. It played amazing. And then you also had Virtual Fighter 3, which again, like House of the Dead, ran from the same board as the arcade. So you got an arcade perfect port at home. And it was just Virtual Fighter. I was surprised Virtual Fighter wasn't a day one launch.
Virtual Fighter, I have never played the Dreamcast version, which is a disgrace. I need to go back and get that game because Virtual Fighter, my friend growing up had a Saturn. I never owned a Saturn until later on in life. I do have a Saturn now, but he had a Saturn and he had a couple games we'd like to play. Virtual Fighter on the Saturn like blew my mind. It was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing. At that time, it was the most. Now, if you go back and play it, it's like, what the hell is this? But when you played a 3D fighting game for the first time, it was Virtual Fighter. It was like, this is nuts. I can't believe that this is happening. So I can't even imagine how good the Dreamcast one was compared to the Saturn version.
It was night and day, you know. And Sega came out with Virtual Fighter, and then they learned some tricks and came out with Virtual Fighter Remix, which was a smoothed out, graphically improved version. And then they did Virtual Fighter 2, which again looked way better.
Wait. You said they made Virtual Fighter 3, they remixed the 3, and then they did Virtual Fighter 2.
No, they did. They remixed the first one. The very first.
Okay. All right. I was like, wait a second.
No, the very first one they did Virtual Fighter Remix. They basically put Virtual Fighter 2 graphics on top of the original game.
Okay, that sounds like something that would happen.
Yeah, and then they came out with Virtual Fighter 3 TB, which was amazing. If you're a Virtual Fighter fan, some people say it's a button masher, but if you take the time to really learn how to play it, it's very technical.
The one I played the most was on PS2. It was Virtual Fighter 4 Evolution, I think it was called.
Yes.
I played the hell out of that for like months and months, and I got really good at one character. Because if you guys haven't played Virtual Fighter before, it's not a game you should try to learn every character for. The systems are very in depth. You can try to learn multiple characters, but it's a lot to wrap your head around. It's not a button masher at all. Like, you really need to learn your characters for these games.
Yeah, Virtual Fighter was Sega's answer to Tekken.
Yeah, definitely. But I would say it's more technical. Like, I can get away, if me and you played a match of Tekken, you'd probably beat me, but I would hold my own. If we played Virtual Fighter, like, as long as I had the right character, I might be able to, like, beat you. Maybe.
Okay.
But if I had a different character, you would destroy me in 2 seconds, without a doubt.